Peter Bryn is with the Citizens Climate Lobby. Hey, Mr. Peter, how are you?
Hey there. Good morning.
Okay, here's how this is going to work, and this is I'm going to do my best to be polite here because, to quote my friend Moon Griffon, I think global warming is one of the greatest hoaxes ever perpetrated on mankind. But in an attempt to be polite, and Erin booked you guys, I'm going to give you your say, and I'm going to be sitting on my hands, and you guys can chat, and I'm going to do my best not to go, hold on, man, that's insane.
What do you tell folks like him? What do you tell folks who think it's a complete hoax, there's nothing going on, it's all a money-making scheme?
Well, that's a great setup. So good question. Well, you know, my background, I was at ExxonMobil for about 8 years, and the reason I went into the energy industry was because I was concerned about, you know, how do you provide energy to the world but do so without exacerbating the climate risk. And so, you know, ExxonMobil and pretty much all the oil and gas majors, you know, have been pretty clear on this risk for years. And they sort of say, look, let's take out an insurance policy. You know, there's a lot of science that says it is a risk. Some folks, you know, don't accept the science, and yeah, certainly respect that. So how do we set up, you know, an insurance policy to say, well, maybe it is a risk, and let's manage that risk if it is, and you know, if we're wrong, well, you know, hey, let's maybe we end up with a cleaner energy system, and there's probably nothing wrong with that.
You know, we had a young lady on yesterday named was Logan Burke with the Alliance for Affordable Energy, and she said that fracking, in her mind, was a necessary evil. Do you agree with that, or would you just eliminate the word necessary and say it's evil?
No, we don't take a position on any energy source. So, you know, I personally, I look at fracking and say, hey, if we can reduce emissions with gas and maybe offset coal, then that's a good thing.
The event tonight, 7 o'clock, Shreve Memorial Library, folks who want to come and learn more, is that kind of the goal?
Yeah, so I mean, what we're advocating is basically what I'd call a market-based approach. It's actually very similar to the ExxonMobil policy proposal on dealing with the climate challenge, and so it's a way to say, let's put a market signal out there to let the marketplace figure out what is the most cost-effective way to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. You know, one of the problems with communicating climate change to folks is a lot of people think exactly what Logan, you know, would have said last night, maybe, which is that, well, fracking's a bad thing. We got to move away from fossil fuels. That's not our message at all. Our message is just to say, if we get the right price signal, if we take, you know, get rid of all the subsidies, fix the economics, the market will take care of this faster than anybody could ever imagine.
Pardon me, you said something that to me is very important. You said get rid of government subsidies, right?
Right. I mean, and that's on all fuels. That's on oil and gas and wind and solar. You know, take it all away, stop having a government tamper, and you know, I mean, obviously we need reasonable regulation to protect the environment, but you know, get rid of the subsidies and put in all the costs as well, and then let the market, you know, go from there. We
had a fellow from SWEPCO on, God, it was more than a year ago now, and he made the following statement about the EPA. He said, they mandate we install technology that doesn't exist and then fine us when we don't install it. I've seen examples like this in other parts of the industry where, you know, a regulation is created and then it continues, the implementation date is put off because the policy or because the technology hasn't caught up yet with the regulation. So that can happen. You know, in fairness to the EPA, there often are real environmental issues they're dealing with, but it's a question of how do we respond to those issues? And again, do we do it in a way where we're incentivizing the marketplace, or where we're regulating things and doing so in a very complex way? You know, the way that I kind of take my cue from Milton Friedman, who said that he was asked on the Phil Donahue show years ago, how do you deal with pollution? And he said, well, you tax it. And Phil says, what do you mean you tax it? He says, look, you don't regulate things out of existence. That's never very efficient. You put a price on it. You say, hey, if we want to reduce pollution, put a tax on it, and then the market will figure out the most cost-effective way and decide if it wants to reduce that pollutant or not. So pardon me, when Hillary says we're going to shut down the coal industry, does that make you wince?
Well, it depends what she means by that. I mean, to be honest, it's going to be hard probably for coal to compete. If we're able to do coal with, for example, carbon capture and sequestration, then I think that's great. I think that has opened, a big possibility there. But the coal industry is already hurt pretty bad, and really the reason it's hurting so much is mostly because of natural gas. We just say, again, take the subsidies out, put all the costs in, including the cost of what it costs to emit CO2, and then let the market figure out the rest. And under that scenario, it's likely that coal would have a hard time competing. If a price were put on carbon, as ExxonMobil would propose, it's hard to see where coal would go. But having said that, there's probably a really great opportunity to grow gas.